Hey everybody, and welcome back to Fantasy Football. We're into game week number 9. Apologies for the delay in this video. I have been super chocker blocker waka mocker at work, and now I've got a bit of a cold as well, which isn't really helping. You might be able to hear that in my voice, but so this might be a bit quicker than normal in terms of a wrap up of the games, but it's just because I don't know how long I'm going to be able to get through without coughing or something like that. In terms of my points for the week, 35, average was 37, so a low scoring week. The highest was only 98, which is quite rare you see that low scoring. I went with Abraham as a captain because I figured Chelsea would smash Newcastle. I was wrong. Zuma actually scoring me some points though. How about that? Because Salah didn't play because he was injured. But I'm actually not too sad about that, because 7 points is probably more than Salah would have got anyway. So, well, who knows actually. We'll go into that anyway. But yeah, otherwise not a vintage week of any sorts. If we go to the Plays League, I'm still 25th. Up the top here, Detective Spooner, 1 point in it. And then really like 4 points separates them, and then 8 points to there, 12 points to 6. It's nothing in it, is it? 1 week, and that can all change. So well done there. Very low scoring I see from the guys here. It looks like 50 I think was the highest. Yeah, from Sebastian Nistor, Romanian Snakes. David Luiz with 11, that's a good shout. Firmino captain. Some Bournemouth players in there. Aki getting a clean sheet, and what did he score? He did score, didn't he? No, he got that's just a clean sheet. Bonus point, I think maybe. Jimenez scored. Zaha on the bench, yeah. But yeah, not bad, but a very average week really. Let's get into the games as they were. We'll have a look at the what was it? Everton West Ham was the first one. That was the midday kickoff, yeah, on the Saturday. I kind of predicted that West Ham might win this one. I think Everton had been in terrible form. I actually predicted that I didn't think Marco Silva would be the manager of Everton still coming into this game. I thought they might have sacked him over the international break. They didn't. They got the 3 points. I don't know whether it's as much Everton being good here or West Ham being bad. West Ham are a very indifferent side. I think 11th tells you that. They are capable of really good wins and then capable of really bad losses. That's them all over, isn't it, unfortunately? Just no consistency there. And Everton are really the same as well. They can pull off it was a good performance. We shouldn't take that away from them. It was a good performance. They got the goal. They interestingly put Richarlison up front, so no Calvert-Lewin or Moise Kean. Brought Keane on for the last kind of 4 minutes or so. It's taken him time to adjust to the Premier League. I'm sure he will, but anybody who thinks that someone can just walk into the Premier League from Italy and just be a success overnight, it rarely happens, especially when you probably rely a bit more. So I think probably of the strikers I can remember who've come from Italy and done really well, Edin Dzeko would be one. I don't think he came to Italy from Italy, did he actually? Maybe he just went to Italy. I'm trying to think. Ravanelli was one who I remember back in the day did really well for Middlesbrough, but he was all about goal scoring. There wasn't really a pace or a strength, or it was just right place, right time, and that works for you, I think, across the board. But when you think of players like Shevchenko coming over, I'm trying to think of other like Italian strikers who have come over, and they've inadvertently they've always kind of struggled. It is a different pace to the game, a different game than it is in Italy, and I think that kind of shows. I think he will be a success. I think he'll just take time to adjust, but Richarlison up front, I guess, in almost a kind of false nine kind of role, interestingly seemed to kind of work for them a little bit. So I wonder if he'll go with that a little bit more. Richarlison's a very good player. I do rate him a lot, so good luck to him. And that's a really decent midfield, I think. I've said this before about Everton, like they do have a decent side. I just think Marco Silva's not the manager for them. The same with West Ham, decent side. I was always sceptical of Pellegrini coming back. He just spent his time in China. I know he won the Premier League, and fair play to him for that, but he went off to his retirement in China, and now he's come back to manage West Ham. It's a very different proposition, so I think we'll see how they do. West Ham in 11th, that can't be where they want to be, but to be fair, they're 3 points off 5th, so it can change next week, Aston Villa, Brighton. Aston Villa with a really good win here. They needed that big time. I think I called that one like, not a relegation 6-pointer. That's such a cliche, but it was a big match, and they went behind. Aaron Moy got stupidly sent off, 2 yellows. Was it like literally 5 minutes apart? It's just dumb as hell. It really is. And then Aston Villa got their way back into the game. And that's the sort of game where when your opponent's down to 10 and they're they're competing with you for relegation almost, or to avoid relegation, that's when you got to take those points and you've got to move up, and they did. And 2 wins in their last 2 games really make Aston Villa look like they can actually do it. But they play Man City next away, so I don't think anybody's given them any hope in that game whatsoever. So effectively they could be right back down in the relegation zone. It's that tight. I don't think they will be. Their defence is very leaky. They do score goals. I mean, if you look at that, 15 goals they've scored. All right, there was 5 against Norwich, but you still have to score that. But I think scoring goals they're doing, which, like, the number one thing in the Premier League that will relegate you is not scoring goals. Look at Watford. Look at Newcastle. Not scoring goals is what will cause you damage. Crystal Palace are a kind of case in point with this. We have a wonderfully structured side, great defence, good midfield, really solid. We can't score goals. That's what's holding us back. That is what can get you relegated. So they can score goals. They've just got to tighten that defence up, and they'll be fine, I think. But we'll see whether or not they can do that. As for Brighton, another bad loss. Only 2 wins. It was a good win against Tottenham. Play Everton next, who are just above them. Even though Everton got those 3 points, it's like bizarre that Everton was such a bad run. When you're losing to Burnley, Sheffield United, Bournemouth, and you're Everton, that is seriously bad. I think if they'd have lost to West Ham, that would have been it, wouldn't it? Because they would literally be in the relegation zone right now. But yeah, well done to Aston Villa there. Good result. And Brighton, they're in trouble. Brighton are in trouble. Bournemouth 0, Norwich 0. I'd say a good point for Norwich, but I think Bournemouth will be disappointed with that. They have higher ambitions. They could have gone up into 7th. Or possibly, actually, they probably would have gone up in. Yeah, they would have gone up into 6th actually, with a win there at home to Norwich. That's something they would have wanted. No win in 3 for them. They play Watford next, so I think they'll probably win that, won't they? But Norwich, a clean sheet, which I don't know if they've had one of those this season, actually. So, yeah, stop the losing ways. They play Man United next, and, that's an interesting one. It really is going to be an interesting one, I think, how they will kind of tackle that one. Chelsea beat Newcastle just. At the end of the day, 3 points is 3 points. I'm sure they had... I was going to say the majority of the possession. They had, Newcastle didn't have a shot on target. They just tried to kind of hold on a little bit and maybe scrape one back. I don't think that's going to work for Newcastle this season. I worry for them because I really like Newcastle. They really deserve better than the fans deserve better than what they've had there. They come out and support that team week in, week out, and it's a shame. But they could probably write that one off away to Chelsea as a loss there. They got a shock win there, I guess. And they've had they've had some tough games. Look at this. They've had Liverpool, Leicester, Man United, Chelsea in their last 5 games. That's a tough run. So, they've come out of that with, 1 win, 3 points out of those 4 games, which that might be more than a lot of these teams get. So, fair play to them for that, I guess. But, I worry for them. Wolves next won't be easy either. As for Chelsea, 4th, they're getting on a good little run right now. Only lost to Liverpool there, which is no disgrace. yeah, I fancy. I said this at the beginning of the season. Like, on paper, Chelsea have a team to compete with for the title. Like, I genuinely believe that. Like, I think they, like, on paper, they have a great team. They have a look at this bench here. Jeez Louise, there's a lot of like firepower on that on that bench there. I think they have the makings of a really good side. Just might take Frank a little bit longer to pick it all up in the Premier League. But fourth place, listen, I think if Chelsea finish top four, everyone will be delighted at Chelsea. Good cup run, fourth place. I think they would be loving that. They've got to tighten their defence up without a doubt. You can't concede 14 goals in 9 games and expect a challenge. But, who knows? We'll see what comes from them. But they're looking like an exciting side. I think it's a good time to be a Chelsea fan. There's some exciting times coming up. Whether you're going to win or lose, we'll see. Leicester beat Burnley, just about, coming from behind again. Jamie Vardy banging them in, as usual. It was hilarious, the whole Colleen Rooney, Rebecca Vardy kind of spat that's going on. That was very, very funny. Leicester, as well, marking the first anniversary of their chairman's death. Shocking, last season when that happened. The helicopter crash, just crazy. I'm sure he'll be very proud looking down on this team, though, in third place, who... It just goes to show, I think, that, Leicester are an incredibly well-run club. You don't have to spend, multi-billions on players. You can turn around and have great scouting. When they won the league, it was a combination of, there was a combination of many things, but one of those things was great scouting. Bringing in the likes of Kante, Mahrez, Jamie Vardy, who were, never been heard of before. Now they're, up there with the top players in the world. Kante is probably considered the top player in the world in his position, and rightly so. And no one had heard of them. It's great scouting, and once again, they're proving that good scouting. Picking up players like James Maddison when I didn't see anybody else doing that. Bringing through young players like Ben Chilwell. Kaglar Soyuncu has come in and replaced Harry Maguire, and it doesn't look too different. Yuri Tielemans, player I can't understand why nobody picked up. He looked brilliant on loan last season at Leicester, and then it seemed like they were the only ones buying him. Ndidi again, come into that Kante role and looked really good. Not as good as Kante, but they have replaced him very well, and they're looking a really good team. I think with some great kind of youth players come through like Harvey Barnes and Ben Chilwell and Hamza Chowdhury on the bench, and they look a really good side. I don't know if they're going to still manage top four. I just have this feeling I had a feeling before the Sheffield United game that Arsenal were going to scrape into there, and maybe Leicester might finish fifth. I don't know now. We'll talk about that in a moment, though. But, good times for them. Burnley, they're in 8th. They'll probably finish mid-table, and that'll be Burnley, won't it? Really? What are you going to do? I don't know what else Burnley are going to do. They probably don't want to finish in Europa League place. It nearly cost them their Premier League status last time. But, that's where you go, I guess. Spurs won, Watford won. Very, very poor from the Spurs. Only 86th minute before getting back. Watford are playing incredibly badly. Spurs are just not at the races right now. 2 shots on target from 12. Saved by Dele Alli late goal. And there's stuff going on at Spurs. Lots of people have been talking about it. Should Pochettino be sacked? That seems crazy to me. He's a fantastic manager. This isn't all on him. Maybe they're having a bit of a hangover from overachieving last season. They got to Champions League final. No one in their right mind expected Tottenham to get to Champions League final, other than maybe die-hard Tottenham fans. But they did it, and maybe now the expectation level, or that come down maybe of losing that final and thinking that was your one chance, has maybe affected them this season. I still think they'll get, they're not far enough away yet where they couldn't challenge for top 4. If they don't get top 4, how does that affect them? Financially, Spurs are a team which, are not the sort of side which can, they don't have the, like a Man United can survive for a couple of seasons outside the Champions League because they're a money-making machine. Can Spurs, they don't turn over as much as a Man United or something like that. We'll see, but it's tough to kind of put your finger on what's going wrong at Spurs. It really is. Who have they got next? They've got Liverpool. Oh shit. Okay, that's going to be hard. I know they won in the Champions League midweek, didn't they? Actually, just looked that up because I can't remember what the score was. I didn't manage to watch any of the Champions League games this week, but I did watch the highlights. Spurs, did they? Oh, sorry, they won 5-0 against Red Star Belgrade. I mean, they should be winning that game quite comfortably, but 5-0 is a good result, and maybe that, puts them into a better frame of mind going into that Liverpool game. You'd still have to argue Liverpool should possibly win that. Where is it? It's going to be at Anfield, yeah. So, yeah, tough one that, isn't it, really? Wolves, Southampton, 1-1. Wolves have really dropped off. Again, is this because they overachieved last season? And really, this is where they are. They're a mid-table Premier League side, and not much better than that. Or, are they actually an upper Premier League side, and they're just underachieving this season? Tough to tell right now, I think. Obviously, Europa League does have an effect. As much as people turn around and be like, oh, it doesn't, blah, blah, blah. It does. We've seen it all over. Smaller clubs going into Europa League without the big squads and, struggling is commonplace nowadays. On there. Southampton, yes, stopped a run of 3 defeats, but we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of teams playing badly right now in the Premier League. As much as I would probably weirdly enjoy a Man United or Everton getting relegated, I don't see that happening. Like, I think either because they're buying power in January or because they'll get in new managers and they'll get big names in and have that turnaround and just about do it and end up mid-table-ish. I'd love to see a Man United get relegated. Who wouldn't? Like, honestly, who's not a Man United fan, obviously, but realistically, I think probably that bottom 5 that you see there is going to be what's going to be challenging for relegation this season. I think Everton and Man United will shoot upwards. I think Wolves and Aston Villa should just about manage to keep themselves out of it. And I don't think that any of the others here will go down there. The only one I could see going down towards there would be Palace, but weirdly, I don't really understand how. We're 6th currently. But yeah. Anyway, speaking of Palace, we did lose, obviously, to Man City. We had heroics last season against Man City with an Andros Townsend stunner, but yeah, it was never going to be this year. You can tell sometimes Man City, off the back of a defeat, a wounded animal. I was worried, after the defeat to Norwich 8-0 against Watford. I was like, oh shit, are we going to be in for a hammer in here? But 2-0 is, okay. I can move on from there. We play Arsenal next, and that will be fascinating, frankly. I hate Arsenal, as you guys probably know. Not because I particularly hate Arsenal Football Club, but because I used to work in Islington, and so everyone I worked with was Arsenal fans, and every time Arsenal beat Palace or whatever, I would hear about it for weeks, and I just ended up despising them, and even before that, I have a lot of Arsenal supporting friends, and it was the same. And so yeah, I really want us to be Arsenal. I genuinely would love that, and to go above them in the league would be incredible. But we'll see. As for Man City, we'll see. I mean, 6 points behind Liverpool. Somebody before these games that weekend was like, oh, Liverpool, after City's defeat to Wolves, were like, oh, Liverpool won the league. It's such a ridiculous statement to say after 9 games. We've seen bigger collapses than 8 points. And we will see bigger collapses than that in future, I'm sure. So Man City as well as a chaser, that's not an ordinary side chasing you. That is a machine there, who have had 2 bad results this season out of 9, but otherwise have looked imperious against opposition, who have some of the best players in the world in their side, one of the best managers in the world, and seamlessly endless depths of money. They made a mistake. They didn't sign a centre back in the summer. That hindsight now says that's a mistake. I think in this game they played Fernandinho and Rodrigo in defence, not even central defenders, like crazy. And John Stones was on the bench. So yeah, I don't know what the hell is going on there, but yeah, in the end, they are just an incredible side. So to think that they're just going to give up the ghost on Liverpool because they were 8 points behind is ridiculous. They would love to claw that back and make history like that. Of course they would. I will say Benteke came very close to scoring. Fair play to him. It was a fantastic save from Edison. A lot gets talked about with Edison's distribution, but he is a very good goalkeeper as well. One of the best in the world with Alisson, I think, definitely. That was a fantastic save. At 2-1, you could have argued that could have made a bit more of a game of it, so really helped out his side there, I think. But routine win for Man City, realistically, unfortunately. Man United, Liverpool. Everyone had this down as a Liverpool thrashing Man United, embarrassing them, all this kind of stuff. And in reality, it was just a very even game, wasn't it? Man United went to this kind of like back 3 with some kind of wing backs, which was a different system that they hadn't really played before, interestingly. Seemed to kind of work for them quite well. But yeah, form goes out of the window in derbies. We often see this, and this was, where Rashford scored that goal, which, by the way, shouldn't have stood. VAR, I wonder about VAR a lot. Firstly, I've had my rant about why it's come in. It's come in because people moan so much about referees that they had to do something. Now they just moan about VAR. People just moan. Like, this just should have been ignored with the referees. People like to sensationalise everything. Referees did need help, yeah, but, at the end of the day, this whole thing where they're overriding referees, I think is, we don't see referees going off to look at monitors on the side of the pitch as we did in the World Cup, etc., etc. And I feel like, looking at it back, as they can do, VAR, like, it was a clear foul on Origi by Lindelof, and I don't get why it was allowed to stand. Liverpool had one chalked off correctly. It was, they've said the rule is that whenever it touches a hand, it can't be a goal. Yeah, whatever you want to say, oh, well, it wouldn't really have mattered, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, that's the rule, and it touched Mane's hand or arm, and so it's chalked off. Fair play. Adam Lallana popping up late on to make it 1-1 and keep Liverpool unbeaten, but I think they will feel like that was 2 points dropped there, for sure. Got Spurs next, which could be a tough game, so we'll see whether or not, because if they draw that potentially with Spurs, then suddenly City are only 4 points behind, and all those people going, they're only 3 points behind. No, 2 points. They're 2 points behind. 4 points. Oh God, what am I saying? I'm ill. They're 4 points behind, and then suddenly, these people going Liverpool won the league is ridiculous, isn't it? So yeah, just chill out, will you people? Just chill. But Man United have fallen a lot. This team, they were doing a Liverpool combined 11 of Man United, and some people picked all Liverpool players, some people maybe put 2 of Man United or whatever. I would like to turn around and see and go, how many of these Man United players who started this game would have got into an Alex Ferguson team from 99 or even maybe like his last season or something like that? Not very many would be my question. Maybe even none, apart from De Gea, who probably was still playing in that team. That would be the thing I would be more interested in seeing. A complete mismanagement of a club that is causing them to just free fall potentially to disaster. You know, they're 2 points off relegation, you know, and in a terrible run of form. I don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the man for them, but I also don't think that anyone's the man for them currently, because I think that their structure is terrible. They seem to just buy. They seem to buy like English players or British players more, but then they're like those. You know, they're using Dan James consistently week in, week out. This guy was playing Championship football last season. Like, where you're Man United, where does that come from? You know, I know, like, oh, he has played well, I agree, but also, like, that's a lot of pressure to put on a guy. You know, he's come up from the Championship to be like, yeah, score a worldie for us every week, Dan James. Yeah, it's just weird, you know, and there doesn't seem to be any leadership. I mean, if you look at that midfield, if you take that as what their midfield is, I know theoretically Wan-Bissaka is a defender. It's terrible. It's one of the worst midfielders I've ever seen in. If you count Pereira, maybe even as midfield, that's one of the worst Man United midfielders I've seen in my entire life. Like Eric Djemba would make that look better, and Jesus Christ, that's saying something. So, people talking about how much money they need to spend in the transfer market to get back. I mean, they need a whole new 11 almost. You know, there's probably about 3 players in there you would keep. That's the ones who they pretty much signed. I think Rashford's more of a left-sided attacker than a central attacker, but just complete mismanagement, isn't it? Really, you know, just absolutely mind-boggling. Speaking of which, mind-boggling. Arsenal lose to Sheffield United. Yeah. I mean, it was on the cards, wasn't it? Sheffield United do brilliantly, by the way. Not really spoken about them, but they're in 9th. I just don't see them going down. I just think they're going to get enough points against teams that's going to keep them up, you know. And they're doing brilliantly right now. They might perhaps struggle against some of their, you know, to break down some teams that are going more defensive than them. You know, they've only scored 8 goals in 9 games, but they've only conceded 7, and that's what the joint best defence in the league. I said attack does keep you up if you score goals, but if you're conceding less than a goal a game, that can also keep you up as well. It's usually easier to score a few goals in the Premier League than it is to keep clean sheets because of the quality of the attackers you're going up against, but they're doing a very, very good job, to be fair. So, you know, joint best defence in the league with Liverpool is nothing to be sniffed at there at all, with players who, let's face it, very rarely did we hear of any of these players before they were in the Premier League, so fair play to them. On the other hand, Arsenal just looking bad, just devoid of anything as usual. People saying Ozil should play in games like this, etc, etc. Well, Ozil's time is done while Emery is still manager. He's not going to play him. You know, Lacazette being back, I guess, is a big bonus. Interesting to know why Kieran Tierney is still not getting played. He's been on the bench for a few weeks now. I don't know. And I think Rob Holding's a much better defender than David Luiz, but there you go. Pepe has not sparkled into life in the Premier League. Funny that for the same price they could have got Zaha, who I think would have been much, much better and knew the Premier League was less of a risk, but there you go. I'm sure he'll come good in the end. It depends what you expect from him. At the end of the day, if you're banging in goals in the French League for fun, you're not going to come into the Premier League and be able to bang in goals for fun, are you? Because it's a completely different league. Like, it's much better defensively. You're not going to come up a team like Sheffield United in the French League. Like, not in a million years. So, yeah. Arsenal, will they finish top 4? I think they've got the firepower to do it, but they don't have the defence to do it, I don't think. And I think they'll finish 5th or 6th, generally. I thought before that they might have made like a late charge because they had some decent enough results, although they let slip some games. I think, you know, Watford one particularly. Yeah, like actually looking at it, their results were not that convincing. They conceded 2 to Aston Villa, managed to scrape a win. Conceded 2 to Watford, the worst side in the league. You know, only got a draw. Man United, who were on the ropes, they could only 1-1 it. You know, Bournemouth 1-0, scrape through, and then lose 1-0 to Sheffield United. Really, yeah. I'd be surprised if they get top 4. Really surprised. But yeah, we'll see. So yeah, that's our kind of roundup, I guess. Let's have a quick look at what we've got next week. Big games, I guess, would be, well, Arsenal, Palace, Liverpool, Spurs. The Norwich Man United one would be very interesting as well, I think. That looks like a very substantial home win for Man City. That'll be interesting. West Ham, Sheffield United. Will Sheffield United be able to, beat West Ham? Who are they ahead of them in the league? Yeah, they are in the league. So, fair play. Brighton, Everton, the sort of game that Everton should be winning, but Brighton could sneak a result there. Southampton, Leicester. Leicester should be winning that if they want to get top 4. So some interesting games coming up. But I'm going to leave it there and have a lem sip. So till next time, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.